by ourselves right now. We have Matty Barrows to talk to about the 49ers. And so let's talk about concerns, Mr. Barrows. Let's talk about concerns with regard to what the 49ers concerns are. Like, do you read this whole experience we've had the last couple of weeks the same way, in that at minimum, the 49ers wish Trey Lance was a little further along in his development today than he is? Is that fair or no?
Oh yeah, I think that's fair, but I don't think anybody is disappointed in his development. I mean, let's just go back to last year. The thing that they were most concerned about with Trey Lance was that he got injured a few times. And that kind of, they had this grand plan, this beautiful plan for easing Trey Lance into the NFL, which is he spends an apprentice year behind Jimmy Garoppolo. He gets to learn, he gets to practice, he gets to run the scout team. Really smooth arc. It wasn't smooth because he had this finger injury in August, and then he had a knee injury in October. And there may have been a couple of other ones in there, but what it led to was sort of an up and down, a jagged learning curve. And he's probably not exactly where when they did this grand plan back in March or April of last year, whenever it was, and they kind of imagined what it would be like. Ideally, it's not quite where it was in their most idealized form of that plan.
I was just telling Mark that I had a concern with the 49ers. I was going to save it for the pregame, but I'm going to throw it right here. And nobody's talking about this, but they lost DJ Jones and they replaced him with Kinlaw, and Kinlaw looks beastly and like he could be monstrous this year. But Jones was so good against the inside run that teams didn't even try it in the second half of games. How concerned are you, especially in a game like this against the Bears, that it may just be a lot of David Montgomery up the middle, and that they're going to get Kinlaw blocked, and when the Niners go to the Givens and the smaller players inside, that those guys get moved in the run game, and it's a lot of A-gap running for Chicago? Is that a concern?
That's always been sort of the concern about the wide nine and how Chris Kasarik runs the system, and it was a critique when he was in Detroit, that you have all these guys sort of aggressively springing off the line of scrimmage, but that's creating some big gaps in the middle. But you're right. I mean, it absolutely was not a concern at all last year. They were great against the run, and I think that has a lot to do with DJ Jones. But I also think it has a lot to do with the linebackers. That's really what they're doing. And this probably has been underreported, that this is one of the best, if not the best, linebacker groups in the NFL, led by Fred Warner. So I think that they're kind of covered a bit in that regard. I think you're right, though. I don't think that they did replace DJ Jones in any way, shape, or form. They do have Hassan Ridgeway. He's sort of their big run stuffer, but ideally, you're right. It's going to be Armstead and Kinlaw in the middle there. And, I know that third preseason game, they didn't game plan for it, this, that, and the other, but the Texans were kind of slicing through them early in that game. Damian Pierce and that group looked pretty good. And I think it's easy to slough off, but you're right. If the first half looks like that third preseason game did, that's going to be a storyline.
Matty Barrows with us, covering the 49ers forever right here on 95.7 The Game. Do you have a hoodie picked out, and how do you see potential rain affecting this game? Because that's what the weather report says right now, Matt.
Oh, rain. Bring on the rain, I say. I mean, this is the team. I mean, I think if Kyle Shanahan had his druthers, this would be like 1972 style run-pass ratio, where at the end of the season, you've got 150 more runs than you do pass attempts. They would love slop every game of the week. I've been following that forecast too. It rains there one day, and then next day you click on it and it's gone. So I'm not sure exactly what's going to happen on Sunday. I do know that the temperature is probably going to be 30 degrees less than what they're practicing in at least midweek this week in Santa Clara.
Matty, let's talk injuries. The two that I want your thoughts on. Is Mike McGlinchey a go at right tackle? If not, who steps in? Is it Moore? Is it McKivitz? And is Garoppolo going to be the number 2 quarterback, or is his injuries going to make Purdy the number 2 in week 1?
No, he's going to be the number 2 in week 1. I mean, it's for him, the reason why he was practicing on a side field all those days wasn't so much that the injury was still healing. It was just to kind of get the stamina in that arm back up. And I think it's where it needs to be. Now, if he all of a sudden had to, start one game after another, I think that becomes a question mark. But they seem to kind of slough that off and say that everything was back to normal with Garoppolo. And as far as McGlinchey, we talked to him yesterday. The 49ers had an open locker room, and he said he was good to go. He had a little bit of a setback in training camp, this, that, and the other, but he, again, seemed to kind of slough that off. I don't think it's all that slough-offable. I mean, that's a knee, that's a part of his body that he's had consistent issues with. And remember, he had only played, I think it was 8 snaps in that preseason opener against the Packers, and he started to feel irritation in that knee. So that's a bit of a red flag. Can this guy who was bothered after 8 snaps play a 17-game season? We're talking 60 snaps a game. So if the answer is no, and he has to come out or he has to take a couple of games off, I think it would be certainly McKivitz to start the season. He's the swing tackle. I think it would be McKivitz who'd go in at either left or right if there was an issue with Williams or McGlinchey early on. I think he's decidedly further along than Jalen Moore. I think that they like Jalen Moore at the tackle more down the line, but Moore was injured quite a bit in training camp, and so he starts the season behind McKivitz when it comes to those tackles.
Matty, I know what the depth chart says, but let's be honest, the depth chart's just a big old sheet of lies. Is what it is. So if Eli Mitchell needs a break, or if Eli Mitchell gets hurt, who's coming in next?
Oh, I don't think there's any question that Jeff Wilson is coming in next. He's the veteran. He's the number 2 guy. They like how he runs. They're still getting Ty Davis-Price in gear. To me, the question is, I don't think anybody's expecting Elijah Mitchell to like Mike McGlinchey. It's hard to imagine those guys making it through a full season given their injury histories. I wonder as the season goes on and they become more comfortable with Ty Davis-Price. And like I said, I think Shanahan wants to make this a real kind of throwback type team. Well, the throwback type runner in that group, or I should say the throwback runners, plural, are Ty Davis-Price and Jordan Mason, because they're big body guys. I think Mason's even bigger than Ty Davis-Price, and Ty Davis-Price is 225. So if all goes according to plan, you sort of have this might is right offense going on this season. I think Wilson certainly meshes well with that. He might be 210, but he runs like a 230-pounder. But those other guys, they would take a lot out of a defense. And it would be the 49ers zigging where the rest of the league has zagged as far as fast, light defenses that are built to stop the pass. If the 49ers can do it, then, boy, all of that seems that blueprint that they've set up seems to be really, really smart.
It's funny, off season, it was a lot about, how good's the O-line going to be? How good's the secondary going to be? And now we still have that question coming into week 1. I'm hearing great things about Nick Zakelj. Is Zakelj going to unseat Brendel and Brunskill at the center spot at some point early in this season? And then they're only carrying 3 safeties, Hufanga, Tarvarius Moore, and Odom. Moore, to me, takes bad angles pretty consistently. What are you hearing from them? Do you think it'll be Odom? Do you think it'll be Moore? There's not a lot of depth there.
No, there's not. I mean, that's a problem area. My thought is that it's going to be Odom and Hufanga. And both of these are kind of rough and tumble guys. Both of these guys came into this league expecting to be special team stalwarts, and that's what they are, or certainly that's what Odom is. So I mean, they are good tacklers. They are instinctual. They don't have a lot of speed, so that's sort of the question mark. Are they going to kind of get burned on deep balls? Can they cover as much ground as the ideal safety net that the 49ers usually can? And I agree with you with Moore. I mean, he's the fastest of the group. He's the fastest defender, probably. But he's just not. He doesn't quite have the instincts that a Hufanga has. So, I mean, he's there. If the 49ers run into issues, he's definitely in the game. They might even put him in some dime situations. But I think that they're just kind of crossing their fingers that there are no more injuries at that group. And if there are, I wonder whether they put a call into Jaquiski Tart at some point, a guy who can run. We saw that speed to kind of save the day in that Packers game when he came across the field and stopped a touchdown. But I think that's something that's in case of emergency break glass type of move. They just want to get Jimmy Ward back healthy. And then the other question about Zakelj, he told me yesterday that that practice was the first one where he started to take some real kind of snaps at center. I mean, my guess is that he was doing it for the scout team. But I think that shows that, okay, that's the position that they want this guy to play in the future. But I don't think it's early in the season that happens. Obviously, injuries would change that, but I think he's sort of a long-term project at that center spot.
Matty Barrows getting ready to head to Chicago. When are you heading out?
Heading out Saturday, yeah. I screwed up. My UVA Cavaliers are playing Illinois on Saturday, I think at 1 p.m. And I get in at noon to Midway, Chicago. So even if I zip down, I'd probably only be able to see the second half. So that's it, guys. That's on me. That's just bad planning on my part.
And you're a vet. You're a veteran.
Yeah,
it's unlike you to make that kind of mistake.
I shouldn't be making these mistakes at this point in my career.
Would it be a little closer for you to just get to Wrigley Field, where the San Francisco Giants will be working on their 8-game win streak? I don't know. Is that possible?
Yeah.
That's possible, and Northwestern also is playing at home. So there are a lot of possibilities.
All right. Well, good luck picking one of those. And Matty, thank you so much.